Welcome to Carter's Country Club. This is episode one, A Call to Right Action, part 11. Thank you so much for being here. I am really excited with what's happening next. So, hi. I don't really have a ton to say. I'm actually really excited because I can already see what's coming in the next slide. And Yeah. So, okay, before I move on, I have to make this reference. So, earlier I talked about country music being co-opted, and I used that quote from Rolling Stone interviewing My Morning Jacket, and they were, being critical of pop country music, and Natalie Maines was kind of going along with that. And Carter likes the Dixie Chicks, and I'm not going to get into calling them the Chicks, like whatever. But he likes old listening to old Dixie Chicks, and the new stuff is not my jam. But anyway, if you know the song "I'm Not Ready to Make Nice," that was really about their criticism, and they were against the war, right? They were against the war in Iraq and George W. Bush and all of those things, right? But I have been Carter won't like I love when he sings it, like he'll sing it in the back of the car. But I really wish that he would sing that song and we could do this montage about COVID, because I feel like when I bring up things with masks that people are like, oh, well, that was a thing of the past, like whatever, but this affected children, okay? This was a big deal. And, you know, it was quite traumatizing, obviously. And people died. And, we could go on for days. So, so I want to share some images here and again kind of revisit that, because I do really feel the old Dixie Chicks song in this. I'm not ready to make nice. I'm not ready to back down. I'm still mad as hell, and I don't have time to go round and round. True. Okay. You don't want to hear me sing it. You want to hear Carter sing it. It's much better. I got the chord. Okay. All right. I'll see you on the other side. Yes, right? Like this happened. Okay. I really like sharing these images because, yep, remember 2020, it was 2 years, 2 years. So I still see people wearing masks. Maybe you don't where you live. I still see a handful of them. There's this one little girl that goes to Nashville Ballet, and she's always in a mask. We were there yesterday for Carter to do his placement class. And like I mentioned in the previous one, I took contemporary. I like to call it modern. They call it contemporary, but it should be contemporary ballet or contemporary modern, but it's really modern dance, but whatever. The young moderns call it contemporary. But I don't know a dance studio that didn't behave like this. Actually, I do. There was one across the river in Indiana that didn't enforce mask mandates, and I took Carter over there, and I really had thought about teaching and thought about bringing Carter there, but like the driving from Louisville was too much. And we started. I dove back into swimming, but this and then this swim image of this woman in a shield, right? Just so nuts. I have to tell this story because I remember when I started teaching group classes, not in the first club that I coached summer league for, but when I went to the winter club and I started to teach classes, the kids like we'd play Ring Around the Rosie with the little ones, and they were like so excited to hold each other's hands. Like they looked at me like, is it okay? And then children were afraid to blow bubbles, freaked out about, because like blowing out of their nose and all of this. And I was just so happy to didn't wear a shield like that. That's just nuts. But people did this, okay? And people would do it again. Right. And then I love this image of Simone where like everybody else is wearing a mask. And obviously Simone has just gotten off the floor and she's not wearing a mask. Right. Because we did that crazy dance of like they could go do this and not. But these people, even in the dance world, right? Like I mentioned this in a previous one part of this episode. where Carter, not at his dance studio, but where he's taking part in this play, they said they could enforce mask mandates again. Like, I will never take part, and I will continue to tell people that they are so wrong. Because come on, is this true care? They believe they're caring for each other. They were just following orders, right? This is what I did during COVID. Like I said, this is that same gym that like let us go in and train. I would have been around all the people, but it wasn't going to serve my child. Do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better. I don't know how Maya Angelou would have, I don't know her thoughts about how people behaved, but people that appeared to be caring, they didn't care. And, and it was disgusting. And we must never forget, right? Because that's what, back to the old Dixie Chick song. Forgive sounds good. Forget, I'm not sure I could. Nope. They say time heals everything, but I'm still waiting. Perfect lyrics. Perfect. Okay, so this is a little bit about me because I want to kind of share where I'm coming from, and then I want to talk about some other propaganda. So that's me in the very center with my cabbage patch. And this is like my family, my extended family. And then the lower yep, I said I'm born in 1982. So the lower right hand corner is my church youth group. I'm a freshman in that picture. My friend Reed, that's down with like his down in the front row with like his elbows bent. I'm the one like leaning over to the side. And then, so Montreat in North Carolina, which is a Presbyterian college, we would go there. And that was my favorite thing. I didn't go to my high school graduation, had no connection to my high school graduating class. I wanted to go to Montreat because we got to be in the mountains of North Carolina, and our leaders, again, we were doing dream interpretation. We were trying to experience God. That was our words at the time. We're all the things. It was amazing. And we got to have service on top of this mountain, like all of the things that made me who I am. And then in the lower left hand corner is a conference called Go For It, which is over Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, and that is ran by the Kentucky YMCA. We call it a non-debatable conference. So I grew up in youth and government, so I did what's like mock UN and mock state government, and we would have these non-debatable conferences. My mom would say they were my brainwashings. And I guess looking back, they really were, right? It made me incredibly, incredibly liberal and left leaning. But it was all about. I mean, you can see us. We're all like laying in a pile there, like love, connection, vision, hope, dreaming. All of the things. So it definitely made me who I was, and I like this. Those were the things I lived for. Were like these large group trainings, these large group experiences, and so that's why I would then go into leadership. And I was really raised. I love my family, and I also think it's really interesting the picture of me in the middle with a tiara on and my cabbage patch. That's a cabbage patch preemie, by the way. And again, I mentioned the book that I'm reading, Tesla and the Cabbage Patch Kids. You need to look up into the history of Cabbage Patch Kids, and not the little dolls, but like the old postcards from the 1800s. Another story for another time. But the little beautiful girl in white is my sister Lucy, and her little girl is equally that beautiful. And when she was born, she was a preemie, and I was four, and I was very upset because in my words, my 4 year old words, I wanted a brown baby boy. So it really frustrates me when people assume because I was against vaccines or that, I thought that Black Lives Matter was co opted and all of these things that, they say all kinds of nasty things about me, but that's not who I am. Not even, I mean, that was not who I was as a child. That was not how I was raised. Like, I so love people and, you know, but yeah, all the things. So this is me. And so my favorite movie growing up in 1986 was a Care Bears 2. Care Bears 2, the movie A New Generation. Okay. My absolute favorite movie, like I would make my mom, we had to get this from Blockbuster. I would rent it over and over. I can sing all these songs for you. And so I had Carter watch it because I knew there was like some dark occult messaging in there, and there so is. It's amazing what you can see in there. I mean, you can see like so the evil dark heart shape shifts, right? So he turns into this reptilian, he does all of these things. And if you don't know anything about the Care Bears, right, they shoot chi energy out of their belly, right? And they're here to bring care to the world. And so fitting that the dark occultist would manipulate this. So I decided to look into a little bit of the Care Bears. And it says Patricia Cullen served as composer, and Los Angeles musicians Dean and Carol Parks. Parks is the daughter of contemporary Christian music composer, conductor, and arranger Ralph Carmichael. Okay, cool. Seems harmless. Let's look into him a little bit. What do we really know about the music behind children's movies? Well, in another one of her books, Access Denied for Reasons of National Security, Kathy O'Brien writes this: Hitler Himmler research into genetics and multi generational families led them to believe that they could control the future by controlling society, operating on the philosophy that secret knowledge equals power. They would keep pertinent facts from the people and alter their natural evolutionary process. They knew that traumas like incest and torture left people highly susceptible and easily led. After 3 generations of incest, abuse, and ignorance, it becomes genetically encoded and people are born more compliant. It was believed that this could be a formula for mass mind control. Okay, so bringing it back to the Care Bears and the children of this Christian composer. I don't need to look a ton more into him. Let's just look at this image right here. Just go with your gut. What do you feel? We know that he's tied to Vanguard. That we do know about him. So, and if we look into different perpetrators that are listed in Kathy O'Brien's works, they were connected to country music, as well as there was many people that have come out about, what was happening in, Christian movement and all the big, like Six Flags Over Jesus churches. But yeah, so, yep, yep. Don't know for sure, but just looking at him, I'm thinking. So, it's really important to ask these questions. My intention with Carter's Country Club is to dismantle the unconscious mind control tactics brainwashing our youth as I have unraveled my own fragmented mind. Okay. So, like I said, Carter watched his first movie when he was 5. He wanted to see a movie, and it was the Paw Patrol movie came out. Like I said, he always liked these toys, so we took him. We took him to the theater, and I am not kidding you. If you watch that first movie, there is weather manipulation. There is very clear, like a political agenda. Like the Mayor Humdinger is totally Trump, and Mayor Goodway is totally Kamala. Like it's so blatant. Like it goes over and over again, and so. I find that it's really good to have these conversations and to dig into this. So when we watch these films, whether they're old or new, we talk about it. We watched, everybody kept saying, "Oh, you've got to see that Pixar movie Brave." And I was like, "Oh, I never saw that when that came out." And I was like, "Oh, bow and arrow, like that might be cool." Well, if you watch Brave, like the dad is totally a giant and there's totally all this other stuff going on. So always, right? Always. And the dad is dumb, right? All of the fathers are dumb, right? All of the princes are dumb. All of the men are dumb. You know, obviously, programming. Do not train children to learning by force and harshness, but direct them to it by what amuses their minds. This is Carter swimming at University of Tennessee. I think he was still 5. No, no, he had just turned 6. He just turned 6. So, getting ready for backstroke. But yeah, the, I don't know. Lost my little bit of train of thought, but you know, here's the deal. Um, there's no reason to force kids to do anything, which is why I'm not going to force him to swim. But I do encourage him to swim for his health, and he does still love water. But this is where he would rather be. This is his sense of water, right? And this is him much younger. This is where he would like to be. But what I always told him is if you're going to choose to be, you know, hanging out by creeks, playing in the good sand, then you need to learn to swim. He loves the sand. This is where they're supposed to be. He doesn't need to be swimming at UT, although he has, right? The good sand. Or, to my flat earther friends, silica, right? Could be just a bunch of mining. We don't know. But again, flat earthers, not the point. The point is to save these children. Carter loves sand so much. More sand. He loves sand. And this is not really an icy. My mom would just get him, he would just get plain ice anywhere. And this is plain ice with some kind of, I don't know, it's probably some kind of like little electrolyte something. But this was during COVID. We found a place that was open and he is wearing a puddle jumper, which is not good. I wish that I had never put him in a puddle jumper. Now I use the power swimmer for kids that need flotation. But again, not the purpose of the video. But I do want to remind everybody again, flat earthers, you could look at this as melted buildings, but that's fine if that's what you want to believe. I call this the Garden of the Gods. It appears to be sandstone to me. We could debate all of the other things, but most important thing is the children. But why I want to share this is Carter's love of sand and love of riding the bike. He really enjoyed being there. He enjoys being around bodies of water. Doesn't want to swim on a swim team, but he wants to be in these environments. And what did we see during COVID? I told you that we went out to Colorado and then we decided there was no way we were going to live there. Bam! Yep. Social distance, eat outdoors, and wear a mask. Yep. Remember the choices that most people made? I really need you not to forget this, okay? People made those choices. When I was in Garden of the Gods, like when we were there in September of 2020, I picked up a nasty, dirty surgical mask off the ground. Didn't care. Picked it up with my hands, threw it in the trash. People audibly gasp. I am not kidding you. They go, and I was sitting there going, wait a second. I thought we were environmentalists, man. I thought we picked up trash. I thought that's what we're supposed to do. But now I'm not supposed to do that because there's a surgical mask that has no place and there's a dirty, nasty surgical mask on the ground here in Garden of the Gods, which is what you call this place. Interesting. So, like I said, it's the climbing community and I have a lot of healing to do because this is how they behaved. Okay, they missed this quote from Dr. Andrew Weil. We don't agree with everything that he says, but this is a good quote. Improper breathing is a common cause of ill health. Look at these people. All the climbers went along with this. I don't know any climber that didn't. They were crazy. And this was my sport. This was my like favorite thing. Not pulling on plastic, outside stuff, but I've worked in 7 gyms in my adult life. We were working in a gym when COVID hit. I actually lost my job at the gym before because, anyway, whole other story. Be with those who help your being. So, and that's Rumi. In 2020, we went to a place called Beach Bend, which is an old amusement park in Bowling Green. And I had never been there in my life, except for a couple of dances. So I did cotillion growing up, like you wear the white dress and you get presented to society with your dad, all that silly stuff that they do. And they had these dances, these like casual dances where all the high schools could come to, and it was like pretty much a drunken, wild party that happened out here at Beach Bend because it has a racetrack and they have this big place. And so, but I never got to go to Beach Bend to the amusement park or the water park growing up. But in COVID in 2020, they were open. They even had communal sunscreen. Not that I feel that you should use sunscreen because I don't, but they were like, we're going to operate the same as we always have, come or don't. And so we got season passes. So we would drive down to Bowling Green with our friends and go to Beach Bend, and we did that for 2 summers because that was open. And again, it was all about giving him access to water. And with that said, I think that's where I'm going to close this one out. It might be a little bit shorter, but yet again, I forgot to put on my timer to know how far and how long I've been rambling. But the whole purpose of this is that really, you know, we can look at forgiveness, but let's not forget what happened. And let's really make sure that we're clear that this will and can be done again. So, with that said, I will see you on the other side where I want to talk about. I was pretty sure I was going to homeschool, but it made it really, really, really clear that I was going to homeschool and the behavior of Kentucky during COVID. But I'm going to leave it on the note with Beach Bend being a bastion of, you know, allowing people to breathe and do things the way that they were going to do. So, good times. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the other side.